Party llama is the party. Party llama brings the party. Party llama dramatically enhances the party. Please do not use party llama if you are allergic to the following: having a good time, increased heart rate, not being a total lame wad, enjoying your life to the fullest, parasailing from the back of a yacht. Please consult a doctor if you do not develop a cool attitude. Use as directed.
Oh hey, didn't see you there. Well, I guess now that we're here, we should begin the tour, shall we? We like to start the day right with a bowl of Lucky Charms for this nice cereal. Ah, scrumptious. This is my dog Willie. He likes to play catch with his ball. He caught it! Like catch with his bird. He caught it again! After I eat my nutritious breakfast, I like to start my work in my office. It's a bit messy, but here at Gaddis Estates, we like everything accessible. Yeah, he's on me. He's on me. He's on me. Dude! He's camping harder than Swiper the Fox trying to steal something from Dora. Ugh. Too again. So, at Gaddis Estates, we like to play a bit of Xbox. You know, Minecraft, Call of Duty, FIFA, Madden, whatever we're feeling, whatever the boys are on. So after I finish playing Xbox and doing my homework, of course, I run a mile around my neighborhood, get my head clear, get the blood flowing, maybe drink a body armor after, take another shower because I don't want to be stinky, and you know, it's just relaxing for the rest of the day. So this is the part where I offer you some advice or a piece of wisdom before we depart. And what better place to do it than on a throne? So for my advice today, I picked out a quote. And this is the quote. In life, you either crank that soldier boy, or that soldier boy cranks you. Now, before you jump to conclusions, you might be like, Mark, what does this have to do with anything? Well, this actually is a very powerful quote. In life, you gotta take action before life takes action on you. You need to be in control of your life, no matter the obstacles, whether it's quarantine or someone broke up with you. No, you gotta focus on your lane, keep moving, and make sure, because God will make sure that you will be in the right lane. You can trust in Him, but you gotta take accountability for yourself and your own faith. So yeah, thank you for visiting Gaddis Estates. It's been a pleasure.
Well, thank you all for joining us today. I'm excited for this new way of doing youth group over YouTube and Zoom. As a quick reminder, right after this video at 7:15 for middle school and 8 o'clock for high schoolers, we will head over to the Zoom room where we will have a time of fun, games, we'll hang out, and then we'll talk about the lesson. So today for middle school, Lauren will be sharing a lesson, and then for high school, I will be sharing the lesson. So we'll have dialogue around those two lessons. And then I have one other announcement, and this is for middle schoolers specifically. Tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, we will have a middle school game night hosted and led by Lauren. So make sure you get that Zoom link. Your parents should have it. But if they don't, feel free to text me or to text Lauren. So now we are going to worship God by song. And so I invite you to join us in that.
I can hear the roar in the heavens as the space between listen. I can feel the ground shake beneath us as the prison walls cave in. Nothing stands between us. Nothing stands between us.
for getting together and worshiping you. Lord, you are worthy of our praise and of our honor, and thank you that we are even able to communicate with you, Lord. I just pray over this time as we join together. Lord, would you be with the words that we say, with the things that are placed in our hearts, Lord, would you use this time for us to grow and us to become more and more like your Son. We ask these things in your name. Amen. Hey everybody. As you know, we're in a time of a whole bunch of newness in our youth group. We have this new format, and with that, we're also starting a new series. So over the next 5 weeks, we're going to be tackling this difficult question, what to do when you don't know what to do. And through that, we're going to be looking at the life of Joseph. This week, we're going to be talking about how you affect your family. So first, we're going to read a little bit of scripture.
Joseph had a dream, and when he told it to his brothers, they hated him all the more. He said to them, "Listen to this dream I had. We were binding sheaves of grain out in the field when suddenly my sheaf rose and stood upright, while your sheaves gathered around mine and bowed down to it." His brothers said to him, "Do you intend to reign over us? Will you actually rule us?" And they hated him all the more because of his dream and what he...
So as we start to talk about family, one thing I do want to say is that family is not necessarily the people that you are related to. Everybody's family looks different, and your family may look very different than mine, but this is all still true. All families focus under this. We all work different, we all act different ways at home than we do in public. It's just a thing that happens. It's not a bad thing or a weird thing. The same way that you act differently around your friends than you would act around a stranger. And for a lot of people, home is the real you. And I hope home is a place for you that you can feel free from the pressure to perform from society and things that can weigh really heavy on us. But home tends to be a place where we are our true selves. And in this, we tend to ask ourselves this question: how does this affect me? Now, that could be any sort of different experience you're in or a situation. How does this specific moment that I'm in affect me? And that tends to be a question that everyone asks themselves. So, for example, I have a pile of dishes right here. And I tend to ask myself in this situation, how does picking up the dishes affect me? And if it doesn't affect me at all, lots of people would blow it off. But I may not understand that me not picking up the dishes creates a job for somebody else. So if we all start to ask ourselves the question, how does this affect me? There can create a lot of tension. So then there's this big question that we can ask ourselves is, what do you do when things are tough at home, when like the mood is off and there is some tension and you know that you are part of it and you don't know what to do? This is a really difficult question, and family life is hard. I'm sure you all are experiencing it right now with a lot of time in together with your family. And we have this example in the Bible of Joseph, and Joseph finds himself in lots of situations where he doesn't know what to do. So in Genesis 37, which we read earlier, we see how Jacob made a special robe for Joseph. Joseph is the youngest, is on the younger end of a lot of his brothers, and usually the oldest brother would get a lot of the things. He's the oldest and he's the person who's going to inherit things. But Joseph gets this really special coat that sets him aside, and it's this physical reminder of how much more Joseph's dad loves him than all of the other brothers. And of course, this makes the brothers despise Joseph. It's very frustrating because Joseph keeps being chosen as the favorite. And on top of that, Joseph has these dreams, and there are these like wild dreams that depict Joseph becoming more powerful and his brothers submitting to him, and through all of the things that they're going to go through, that Joseph is going to end up being in control and in charge. And that really frustrated the brothers. Of course it would. Can you imagine the tension that's going on in that family? I mean, there's one dad and then there's 4 moms, which is a thing that was significantly more typical than in their family dynamic. But there's 4 moms and then a ton of different brothers. And now the favorite son is not only going around with this fancy gift, but is also talking about these visions where everyone is going to bow down to him. But why would Joseph do that? Why in the world would he be saying all these things, be acting this way when it's really annoying his brothers? And the thing is, Joseph was acting like a lot of us tend to do. This being extremely aware of how we are being treated and not really focusing on how that affects other people and how it influences other people. And Joseph's brothers were in the same boat. They were only focusing on the unfairness and the injustice in their own lives and not looking at the bigger picture. See, this story is from very long ago in a family that looked very different than probably a lot of us. You probably aren't 4 moms in your family, and if there are, that's awesome. But in this, we see, we look at a couple things and reasons why we still read this story. One is that it's a part of the bigger narrative of God's story, and that God uses this family and this tension to do something big and awesome, and a story that is critical for the story of God's people. It also shows us that family has always been complicated. There's always been tension in families. There's always been disagreements. And it's not something that's new or scary, has to be scary to us. Another thing is that it's teaching us to pay attention to how our actions and our situations affect the people that we live with. Even if it's something that doesn't have to do with your family dynamic, if it's something from your friend group or something that's going on in a job you have or other parts of your life, it can still affect the family dynamic, and it can still create tension or make life difficult. And another reason why we look at this story is that it reminds us that tension that's left unresolved will never just go away. It doesn't just disappear. It can always escalate to something bigger. And we'll talk a little bit more about that next week. But tension doesn't just go away. Something that we know and that we need to look at is that no matter what your dynamic looks like, your family, the way that your family works, you play a specific role in your family. For me, I've really noticed this because I went away to college this past year, and my dad and I tend to have a similar personality, and my mom and my sister tend to have a certain personality similar. And we're pretty balanced when we're all together. The family works a certain way, but after I went away for all of college, this past year, the dynamic shifted. Balance had to be brought back to the family because I wasn't there all the time, and my personality and what I'm good at and what I'm not good at aren't there anymore for most of the time. And so they rebalanced and they readjusted. And then I came back from college and it was another adjustment. And so family is constantly moving and adjusting as people grow and as people change. People are in your family, as people are no longer in your family. And our specific roles are unique to us. So one thing I want to challenge you with is to pay attention to how your words and your actions contribute to the tone and the temperature of the house. And what I mean by tone and temperature is, like, do you notice a lot of tension? Do you notice a lot of arguments or a lot of disagreements, a lot of anger? And that's not always because of you. I will say there are some things that happen despite the role that we play. But are you contributing to it? Then decide what you want your role to be like, because you have the option. So back to, if I have a load full of dishes in front of me that I need to do, me not doing them creates more stress for my mom to do it maybe. And then if she's frustrated and tired, then maybe it causes an argument later down the road. But if I were to look at that and say, what do I want my role to be? If I want my role to be a servant and to be loving to my family, I can do those dishes and take that load off of someone else. And at the same time, I may have something where I'm really overwhelmed and I need someone else to help me out. And so if we can pay attention to the way that our words and our actions can contribute to our family and shape those into something good and something helpful that's going to build others up, then we can help the family work better and we can love our family better. And another thing that's important is to seek some guidance. So let's look at an example from the New Testament. This is Philippians 2, verses 5 through 8. It says this: in your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as Christ, who being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant, being made human in likeness, and being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross. So as we see this, we know that Jesus is our example, and Jesus is someone that we need to use as our guide. And Paul is saying here that Jesus, who had every right to be asked to be treated like God, because we know that Jesus is part of the Trinity, Jesus didn't demand that. Jesus instead took on the very nature of a servant. And so that is our guide. That is our goal, is to take on the servant nature as we live with our family, to love our family well. And as we start paying attention to how we see ourselves, we can invite someone that you trust to speak into how you treat your family. For example, it could be a mentor, it could be your prayer partner, somebody who's wiser than you and possibly older, who can give you guidance on how to treat your family better. If they know the situation, or if you explain the situation to them, to give you some tips and a new perspective into how to treat your family well and ways that you can improve. We all need people who are older and wiser than us that can help us figure out what to do when we don't know what to do. And so in that, turning to people who can give you advice and help you through that time. And it could also be a pastor or somebody in the youth group that you trust, that can maybe has been through a similar experience, or maybe understands things a little better than you. And I'll leave you guys with this question: what would it look like if we all paid more attention to how we affect everyone else? How would that change the way our family looks? How would that change the way that we love our family? So I'll see you all in the Zoom. It's great to be with you guys, and I can't wait to have a discussion.